That feeling you've been carrying. The one where people look at you and you can literally see them trying to do the math in their head. Your age doesn't make sense to them. Your face doesn't match the number. And it's not just about looking young. It's something deeper. Something that unsettles them a little. Just a little. You've probably had moments when someone's eyes widen as you tell them how old you are. Or maybe they don't ask. They just stare a bit too long. You know they're rearranging anything they thought about you in real time. And there is that tiny pause, like they are rewiring their brain. And here is what I'm getting. It's not vanity. It's not about being hot or whatever surface thing they project onto you. It's about the fact that you carry something that doesn't match the timeline they expected. Some of you are in your 40s, and people that said think you are in your early 20s. Some of you are in your 70s, and they swear you look 50. I've sat with people who laugh about it. The way their own children's friends do a double take, the way strangers at the grocery store ask what college they go to. And behind that laugh, there's always this flicker of, what is that? Confusion, exhaustion, maybe both. I think both. Because here's the thing. That's not the full story. The full story is, why does that shock them so much? Why? I'm gonna go somewhere with this. Stay with me. There is someone who has a certain kind of presence, and it's not something they try to have. It's just there. It's like their soul recognizes yours before their mind catches up. That's what's happening here. When I tune into your energy, what I'm picking up is three things working at the same time, and they shouldn't work together, but they do. And that's what's confusing people. There is this softness, this emotional openness that feels almost innocent, that not naive, innocent, untouched by the hardness of the world. People feel that, and they immediately feel safe. They feel like they can breathe around you. But then they notice something else. There is a warmth that pulls them in, a natural glow that doesn't need to announce itself. You walk into a room and something shifts. You don't need to speak, and still people notice. And there is a third piece, is this quiet confidence, this knowing, not arrogance, not performance, just a deep sense of self that doesn't bend to fit other people's expectations. That's what throws them. Because those three things don't usually live in the same person, not in a way that feels real. When you're soft and emotionally open, people expect you to be uncertain. When you have presence and glow, they expect you to be distant. When you have confidence, they expect you to be hard. But you are not any of those things. You are all of them at once. And they can't categorize you. It's difficult for them. That's why they are shocked. Not because you look young, because they can't figure out the box to put you in. And that discomfort is actually a gift. It means you are not feeding into their limited understanding. Do you hear that? Do you sense that? I want to use a word here, mirror, because that's really what's happening. Your presence becomes a mirror for them. And that's the core of why they react so strongly. Level 1 of the mirror. When someone looks at you, they don't just see you. They see something about themselves. Your softness reminds them of the past, of the part of themselves they birthed years ago to survive. Your glow reflects back a version of them that they used to be before life told them to dim it down. Your confidence, it shows them where they have been shrinking without even realizing it. So they stand there trying to process, and they don't, because the reflection is uncomfortable. There is a level 2. That mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It just shows what's there. When they look at you and see a softness that still exists, it forces them to ask, why did I lose mine? When they see your glow, they wonder, when did I stop glowing? When they feel your confidence, they feel their own hesitation like a knot in their chest. I've seen it 100 times. Someone will say something sideways, a little dig, a backhanded compliment, and what they are really saying is, stop showing me what I've lost. The criticism is the sound of someone not wanting to see what you are showing them. Level 3. Now here is what gets even deeper. That mirror works in 2 directions, because when people can't stand the reflection, they pull away, they get confused. They might even say something sideways. But when someone can't sit with it, when they look at you and feel that softness without flinching, something shifts in them. You've seen it happen. People tell you that you make them feel comfortable and warm, that your presence is calming and familiar. That's the mirror working the way it's meant to. Not to make them feel small, but to remind them who they actually are. Level 4. So here's the truth about that mirror. It's not something you are trying to hold up. It's just you. You're not doing anything to make people feel confronted. You are simply existing in your fullness. And for some people, that's the most confronting thing they will see all week. But for the ones who can handle it, you become a door, a reminder, a place where they remember that they too can still be soft, still glow, still stand in their own worth. I keep thinking about certain films, the ones that women of a certain age come back to again and again. You know the ones, Steel Magnolias, where those women sit in that beauty shop and they're fierce and soft at the same time. There is Truby who says, there is no such thing as natural beauty. But then you see how she holds space for everyone else's pain. There is that scene where they are all gathered and they laugh and cry in the same breath. That's you. You are the one in the room who can hold the laughter and the tears without either one canceling the other. Or Thelma and Louise. That moment when they decide they are not going back, not because they have it all figured out, but because something inside them finally snapped into place. That's the energy you carry. A quiet refusal to shrink, not loud, not performative, just done. Or under the Tuscan sun, the scene where Francis says, you have to live spherically in many directions. That's you. You didn't let life flatten you into one thing. You kept expanding, and people can feel it. They look at you and they can't pin you down because you're not a line. You are a whole sky. And then there is Something's Gotta Give, where Diane Keaton's character is written off as too old. And then she's standing there in that white shirt, laughing, more alive than anyone half of her age. That's the shock factor right there. They expect a certain weariness, and they find vitality and aliveness that hasn't been dulled. That's the thing about you. You didn't lose your spark. You didn't trade it for safety. And that, more than any number, is what unsettles them. Let's take a moment to name something that might not get said enough. There is a particular code in you, a kind of DNA signature that goes deeper than biology. I'm not talking about genes. I'm talking about the blueprint of your spirit. Some people call it life force energy. Others call it source frequency. Whatever name you give it, you have access to it. And it's not something you learned. It's something you are. It's something you are. When you walk into a room, that energy moves ahead of you. People feel it before they even see you so clearly. They don't know what they are responding to, but their body knows and reacts. Their nervous system settles. Their shoulders drop. Something in them that was braced unclenches. That's your gift. You carry a healing frequency. Not because you are trying to heal anyone, just because you have held onto your wholeness in a world that constantly tries to fragment people. And that's why they react so strongly. Because when you're around the part of them that's been split off, the soft part, the innocent part, the confident part, it feels permission to come back, even for a moment. So yeah, they are shocked by your age. But what they are really shocked by is that you are still here, still whole, still warm, still glowing. Let me take you through a cycle here because this matters. First cycle, the weight of being seen. When you walk through the world carrying this energy, there is a weight to it because you know even before they speak that you are going to be noticed. You've felt the eyes that linger a little too long. You've heard the whispered comments. You've been introduced to someone and watched them try to hide their double take. And what does that do to you? It makes you want to manage them, to soften your own presence so they stop looking, to explain, to prove that you are not trying to be anything. But here is the release. You don't have to manage them. The mirror is not your responsibility. You can simply stand there. Let them their moment. Let them have their moment. And keep being you. Second cycle, the loneliness of not fitting. There is a loneliness to being the one who doesn't fit. You've probably felt it, being in a room full of people and knowing you're the one they're all trying to figure out. It can feel isolating. I've heard people say things like still single, as if though with the kind of resignation. Others say chosen ones walk alone, and I get that. Because when you are the mirror, people either worship you or they avoid you. And neither feels like a real connection. But here is the release. The loneliness isn't a punishment. It's a filter. It means you are not surrounded by people who only want to use your reflection to feel better about themselves. You're waiting for the ones who can sit with the mirror and not run. Third cycle, the exhaustion of always expanding. You've typed out messages and deleted them 100 times. You've thought about how to say what's true without sounding arrogant. You've softened your words so they don't think you're full of yourself. You've laughed off comments that stung. But that's exhausting. That's really exhausting. Constantly explaining yourself. Constantly shrinking so they feel comfortable. And here is the release. You can stop explaining. You can stop proving. The people who need you to explain aren't the people who will ever really see you anyway. Fourth cycle, the gift of the mirror. When you finally stop explaining, something opens. You start to see that the confusion on their face is actually a sign of your wholeness. You're not missing a piece. They just don't have the category for what you are. And that's okay. That's okay. I want to come back to that DNA code because it's important to understand what it actually means. When I say you have access to life force energy, I mean that your system never closed off the way most people's do. Somewhere along the way, most people learn to armor up. They trade aliveness for safety. They trade softness for control. But you didn't make that trade. Or if you did, you reversed it. You chose to stay open. That openness is what lets healing energy move through you. Not in a woo-woo way that feels distant. In a real way. When someone's hurting and they sit next to you, something in them eases. When someone's lost and they talk to you, something in them finds its footing. You don't do anything special. You just are. And here is the part that people don't always see. That energy isn't just for others. It's for you too. You've been feeding yourself with that same life force. That's why you look the way you look. That's why your face hasn't hardened. That's why your eyes, your beautiful eyes, still have that spark. You didn't let the world turn you into stone. So when they are shocked by your age, they are shocked by your refusal to calcify. But your refusal to become what they think someone your age should look like, act like, feel like. I'm going to give you another image from another film, Mamma Mia. I know it's a musical, but stay with me. There is a scene where Donna, played by Meryl Streep, is standing on that Greek island, and she's in her overalls and she's singing and she's full of joy and regret and strength all at once. She's not pretending she's 20. She's not trying to be anyone's idea of young. She's just alive, fully, messily, gloriously alive. That's what people feel when they look at you. That quality of being fully alive in a way that isn't polished or curated. It's raw, it's real. And it reminds them that they are allowed to be alive too. Or think of it's complicated with Meryl's again. There is that scene where she's baking in her kitchen, laughing with her ex-husband, and there is this sense of a woman who has built a life she loves. Not a perfect life, but a life that has room for her, and you can see it in the way she moves. She's not performing, she's just present. That's your energy. Presence, not performance. Now, let's talk about what happens when you actually let yourself leave from that place. You stop apologizing. You stop explaining. You stop making yourself smaller so they can feel bigger. And what you start to notice is that the ones who were unsettled, they either fall away or they step closer. But either way, you're not spending your energy managing them anymore. You are spending it on yourself, on your life, on the things that actually matter to you and only you. There is a moment in Thelma and Louise right before the final scene where they look at each other and they don't say anything. They just know. They know they are not going back. And there is a peace in that. Not because the choice is easy, because the choice is theirs. That's where you are. You are standing at that edge, looking at the life you've been living, the explaining, the shrinking, the wondering why they don't understand. And you are deciding, and you are going to keep trying to fit into their categories, or are you going to let the mirror do its work and walk toward into what you already know is true? Let's validate that choice for a second, because you need to hear it. Emotional validation, that feeling of being tired of explaining, It's real. It's real. That exhaustion from being seen but not understood, it's valid. Your heart doesn't care about the rules people try to put on you. It doesn't care. Experience validation. There is a specific kind of person who feels like this. The ones who are told they are too young to know or too old to act like that way. The ones who carry both innocence and wisdom at the same time. You are not the only one. There are others who get it. They are out there. You will know them when you meet them because they won't need you to explain. And worthiness, validation. You deserve to be seen exactly as you are, without explanation, without apology. You deserve to stop managing how people react. You deserve to let the mirror do its work and walk away. Someone said something to me once that stuck. She said, I don't apologize for how I am, or do I care whether they like me or not. And that's the energy I'm feeling you are moving toward. Not defensively, not with walls up. Just free. Just free. The choice isn't whether this is real. The choice is whether you are ready to stop pretending it's not. You've always known. You've always known. You just needed someone to say it out loud. You can keep waiting for them to understand. Keep waiting. Or you can let them not understand and be okay with that. So let them be shocked. Let them wonder. Let them try to figure out the math that doesn't add up in their head. You don't owe them an explanation for who you are, or why you look the way you look, or why your energy feels like it comes from somewhere else entirely. You just owe yourself the freedom to be it. The freedom to be it. Because here is what happens when you stop trying to fit. When you stop managing the mirror, when you let your DNA, that life force code you carry, do what it does without apology, you become a doorway for other people. Not because you're trying to. Because when you are fully yourself, you give everyone else permission to start finding their way back to themselves. And that's the real work. That's the healing you carry. Not fixing anyone, not saving anyone. Just being so fully alive that the people who are ready to be alive too recognize the path home. So go ahead. Let them be shocked. Let them stare. Let them try to figure you out. You're not here to be figured out. You are here to be you. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. That's everything.